in draft already hovering the Timo ban, and we know that's for sea pudding for sure.
Absolutely. I kind of giggle with how much respect is put on that champion for Team Unknown. I like yeah, I understand the ban.
Also
But
taken away to Leah. That's exciting.
100%. And I think it's we're we know Team Unknown so well, and they're such a hard team to ban because they're so flexible, very famous for that. So I'm seeing things like Jinx, which that makes sense. This the most recent ADC they played, but they also like have never played it before this tournament that I've seen. So it's very tough to really nail them down. But
Well, it's
absolutely.
hard. It's hard to stick with that because
Valentine is subbing in for Calavir, and you're right that Calavir
Mhm.
doesn't play the Jinx,
So true.
but Valentine has a different champion pool.
You're absolutely right. Still, it's one of the very very difficult to play against band team unknown. And here we are hovering a Gragas, which we have seen Short Bus Dojo run in the top lane before.
Yeah, it did really well. I like the way that SBD has been piloting that champion. I think he's really strong. And the way that he's so durable without needing to build as many tank items. You start with AP and getting him some damage, but then his W giving him all of that reduction is very, very fun. The Wukong Melio locked in quite quickly on the side of Team Unknown as well.
Interesting to me that they opt for the Melio rather than something that combos with Wukong. Now, of course, that's so that they can get the flexibility, so they don't get counterpicked in mid lane or something like that. But it's still interesting to me that they didn't choose something like Seraphine or something else. The flex.
I think that might as well with the enchanter style that Melio brings. Jin is locked in on the side of SBD. Now, one of the things that are if you draft more burst, then you're going to have a lot of trouble cutting through tanks or Wukong with his passive that gives him those resistances. So I DPS.
Now, not first person that I'd pair with him, especially because they have the Melio. I do think that the Q from Nami is classified as a stun, and so getting
Mhm.
that combo CC, Jin rooting after a Nami ebb and flow, is something that could be very quickly cleansed. However, I do think it is a strong pick because of how much sudden poke they have, how much damage they have out of nowhere. I think Melio is still favored into this, but it'll be interesting to see how bot lane goes. Another
Speaking of
Seraphine. Mhm.
And speaking of bot lane, either they pick the Seraphine to go with the Melio and they just have this insane healing comp on the bottom side, or they wanted to wait to pick their marksman, but that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because then you're giving away one of your solo lane picks and you want to save those for counters.
Yeah, and I think Seraphine is a beautiful play here because I think she could go bot lane or mid lane. We did see her in the mid lane last game,
Mhm.
but Seraphine has auto attack synergy with Melio. She could still utilize the passive damage from Melio because of how much range she gets as an auto attacker. So I think she's most likely going to go mid lane. I have a hard time thinking that she goes bot lane, but just the threat of her going bot lane is a really cool and very interesting pick.
The pinch here for the mid lane, getting rid of the Silas and the Talon, does
Mhm.
lead me to believe that Seraphine will be on the bottom side because I think Seraphine would do fine into the Silas, but the Talon does. I don't know. Actually, now that I'm really thinking about it, they know that Short Bus hasn't picked their mid lane, and Short Bus is undecided as to where Seraphine is because Tristana is another flex pick. Lucian used to be a flex pick, so two marksmen taken away on the side of the Short Bus, and now we might just get the answer to who is going where on the side of Team Unknown.
100%. And you know what? I think the Silos ban is a just a beautiful ban. I think it's a shoe in strictly because Wukong Seraphine on the other team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and maybe it's a not muddle the waters a little bit, Kaisa is someone who can go mid lane, but traditionally is bot.
True,
So
true.
we'll
Yeah,
most
you do
likely
have a point.
see Seraphine mid and Kaisa bot, but it's not out of the question to see it the other way around.
You know, you and I have yet to have a full conversation on this, but how great would it be to have three-way flex on literally every champion? Just to understand that they could go anywhere, anytime, and needing to compensate for that when you're doing your drafts. I think that's a much more interesting League of Legends. At least it's a much more interesting 10 minutes of draft that we have.
Yeah, I think literally every champion is a bit much, but I do think that having that flexibility is really interesting. I rage against the idea of counter picks. I think that there are definitely difficult matchups, but it's so silly to me. Is that a fiddlesticks?
That is a locked in fiddlesticks. Ladies and gentlemen, the first showing in the PLC of the fiddlesticks. I'm actually really excited for that. We talk about not having assassins. We talk about not seeing certain champions. This is one that never even touched my radar.
Yeah. Fiddlesticks is one of two specialists in the game. So, of course, we did skip over, one of the two specialist champions, but still, Fiddlesticks is very exciting. Bombastic ultimates, huge CC. I'm excited to see this.
Same here. Cassante locked in on the side of Team Unknown to go against the Gragas. More good engage potential, high damage output when in the ultimate form. And these drafts are just a lot of fun. They're exciting. We've got lots of damage. We've got crowd control. We've got tempo. We've got good bands. And I am ready for the first for our semifinal here on the July day.
So let's talk predictions. I like forcing people into trying to pick a side. And I really like the team for Short Bus Dojo.
Mhm.
However, I think the strength from Team Unknown's comp is just a little bit better. I really like the Wukong Seraphine. Just a very strong combo. And I also think that they have a lot of flexibility in what they choose to do. Cassante is just a good champ who's able to be bullied or to bully. I think Team Unknown is going to take it.
I'm looking at this is swapped, by the way. Short Bus Dojo is on the other side, and the the fiddlesticks paired with the Jin and the Yone. Again, I'm thinking there's a lack of DPS, missing that per second on the side of the dojo. I With the surprise and the amount of crowd control they have, we can see some incredible combos, like you were alluding to, right? Yone knocking everybody into one spot and then Gragas launching them into the Fiddle Fear. That would be amazing to see. And that's a great combo. But if they miss even two champions on the side of Team Unknown, they will not have the sustained damage to win a fight. Against Cassante, against Melio with two enchanters healing up, it's a doomed scenario. So if you're on the side of Short Bus Dojo, you gotta line up those ultimates for not only your benefit, but for the crowd's benefit too, because that's going to be exciting to watch.
100%. And I don't think this is a situation where like GG and champ select. I
No,
think that there's just too much pressure on playing well for Short Bus Dojo. But they have very flashy, very interesting champions. I'm hoping that picking a new champion in PLC is rewarded because I want to see people go, wait, I have to think about fiddlesticks now.
okay, I can see that. What what do you do? I know that. So when we talk about how you react to certain champions, we need to talk about Rek'Sai and Zach and Evelyn for how you ward, right? All of those champions have very unique gank paths. And Fiddlesticks is another one of those champions that if you're not watching every single corner, every wall, you're gonna get hit. And it's not just hit, it's feared with AoE, high damage, and a drain. So even if you hit him back without crowd control, he's not going to take any damage. So what what adjustments are we going to need to see from Team Unknown in terms of their macro play because their vision needs to adjust.
Yeah, I think more than any other champion, Fiddlesticks is a champion that you want to be pushing tab frequently for, checking his items, see what he's doing. Well, seriously,
Yeah.
because if you pick something like if you take something like Rocket Bell, that changes his game path. If he picks up Zanya's, that changes his team fight ability. It's something that you're like, okay, what is going on with the Fiddlesticks right now? Keeping tabs on Fiddlesticks is a lot of pressure on the enemy team, but if a team is able to do that, they're able to respond to Fiddlesticks and play well against him.
All right. So, everybody, we are into our spectator delay. We're looking real good. I want to see some excitement in the chat. We already have skin call out. Royal Lynx happens to know that the Fiddlesticks player has all of the skins. We got Cobalt jumping in here. Server
That means that
Panda
he's got
chiming
to be
in.
good, right? If he's got all the skins.
That's what it used to be, right?
Aha.
You would only buy a skin if you had a lot of time and experience on a champion. Oh man,
100%.
I love
I
it.
like Cobalt Gaming. Blue, go blue team, woohoo!
Woo. Well, Cobalt will always vote blue. I mean, that's his name, right?
Right,
It's Cobalt.
100%.
So now, oh, is that Gragas mid, or are we doing another swap thing that we did
I
earlier?
would not be. It'd be interesting because the top laner for short bus was the one who played Gragas before, unless they're both proficient at Gragas, which is possible.
Mhm.
However, this might be a game where we just see a lot of switching back and forth and back and forth. Because I can see Yone playing better into Cassante. Don't know the
Agreed.
matchup super well, but yeah, it doesn't. I don't know. Very strange, but I think it could be a scenario where they're swapping lanes.
Definitely, and that was the point I was going to make that you made just now is that Yone would do better into Cassante. Cassante in the early part of the game doesn't deal a whole lot of damage. It isn't until he gets the all out and his first item that he can really start beating people up. Whereas Yone is the exact opposite. He's always dealing damage. He has that shield from his W that in my opinion, is the most frustrating part about his kit. It gets down to like a 4 second cooldown, and you don't even need to hit a champion. You just need to hit something. And so when you think about the trading patterns, you go lethal tempo on the Yone against the Grasp of the Undying of the Cassante. You're gonna win those trades.
Right? I don't I man, again, don't know the matchup super well, but Cassante, has a very mobile kit, and I think if Cassante is careful, it's not necessarily over for Cassante. In fact, I think that he could set up gank patterns that would be very beneficial. I think top lane is going to be dictated a lot by who comes top lane for ganks, and that might be no one. It might just be stand around and farm.
That is true. Now tell you what, it doesn't matter because we are in the game and we're going to find out in the next few minutes. Let's see some love in the chat. The first game of our playoffs here. Short Bus Dojo versus Team Unknown. We have our battle lines drawn. Cassante up in the brushes trying to find the Yone. No wards are going to make it into opposing jungle sides. And that is an odd thing. We've been able to make some sort of move into all of the jungles before.
Yeah, it's interesting the choices of when to invade and when not to invade. Now, looking at these teams, there's not necessarily anyone who's particularly strong on an invade or not strong on an invade, but seeing a little bit of information, just walking up and seeing which side the jungler is trying to start at, should be something that I think both teams would prefer to have than not have.
Mhm.
So it is interesting to see that neither team opted to make the riskier play and try to look into a bush or something.
Yeah. I agree with your assessment that there aren't any champions that are like guaranteed level 1 winners or anything,
Mhm.
especially when you consider Seraphine and Nami have about the same level of impact if Seraphine starts with her E.
Right.
And but that's all it is. And we see that Death did not do that. It starts with the Q. And so they all just play it safe. They want to meet in the lanes. They're confident in the matchups they drafted. And this is Seraphine just bullying out a Gragas who didn't start with his W.
Yeah, I think people sleep on Mage Seraphine so bad. They want her to be a support because I guess Sona. Look at that damage. It's gross. Like she does so much damage just vanilla, and then she does extra damage if you're low health. There's a reason why she gets as much ban as she does.
Up on the top side, we've got some skirmishes. There's that lethal tempo we talked about. Kodo Draco getting a little bit low, but he has the third and Tofo strike to get the knockup. I don't know that he's going to land it. Even if he did, I don't believe he wins that. But notice, in the top side, no more potions. They are already gone, just completely gone.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's pretty wild. Throughout the tournament, we've seen a lot of slugfests come up top lane, but especially in this matchup where it doesn't feel like either person won that much. It doesn't feel like a lot of ground was taken.
Seraphine's running out of mana, which is, I think, one of the big issues when you look at this champion and why she isn't played as a mage as much. You know, when you're going Comet in this case, and if production could get us the whole runes display here, we can see if she went with the Presence of Mind. Might just have mana flow banned, but you want to go with a tier of some kind. Yeah, okay, there it is. See? With the mana flow banned, that means you're not getting that Presence of Mind mana back. So that should be Seraphine's first thing, is to go get a tier or a lost chapter at the very, very least. Thank you, production. I appreciate that.
I think big fight top lane. Speaking of no mana, Cassante is also finding himself empty with the junglers inside the fight.
Double buff versus double buff here. The Wukong pushing out the Fiddlesticks. All he needs is an EQ. Flashes are followed, but he doesn't get the kill underneath the turret. He will jump away with the clone. Seraphine has arrived to give support, but that was the closest someone's been so far. Flash forward, and Get gets first blood!
Oh my goodness, Dev, calm down. Gragas is able to respond.
Another engage. Holy cow. And what confidence. Just a flash E, more fighting here. Gragas wants to go in onto Seraphine, getting low, does not have a W quite yet, but gets the support from the Cassante, who gives the shield with the W. Flash burned on the side of Gragas.
Bro, now this is PLC. This is pod racing. Oh my goodness, is there so much aggression in the mid lane? I do think I saw double buffs go onto one of the mid laners, which could only be Seraphine, because she's the one that got a kill, which is terrifying for the Gragas, because now she's got mana regen and a little bit of health regen.
Right.
Terrifying.
And look right there. That's a tier. That's the thing. And then with the double buffs on top of that, the Seraphine is going to become so much more oppressive than she already was. Right? Gragas was already pushed under his turret. He was already struggling, low on health but high on mana. Now he's going to be low on both.
I was going to say Seraphine, what a champion, but honestly, Death, what a guy. You know, whatever he pilots so well. And I really do think that he's one of, like, the shining stars. There's so many shining stars of Team Unknown, but seeing him play Azir, seeing him play Syndra, and now seeing him play... What do you ban against him? He's just too good.
Taking a look here at our lead numbers, he does have that 450 advantage in the mid lane. Nowhere else has anything too significant. There is a bit of advantage probably just from turret plates on the bottom side, as we have another weird engage. They knock each other up right there as Cassante and Yone get a fun interaction. It's going to be like that for a while. Yone will just keep trying to whittle down the Cassante, who will heal and get more hit points with the Grasp of the Undying, but he won't ever be able to kill the Yone.
Yeah, level 6s are starting to come around on the map, which means that we might see some bigger plays. Looks like there is some stancing around the dragon, as well as aggressive tendencies from a couple of the laners. Dragon does go to the Fiddlesticks, who is hiding underneath the Nami icon, so I didn't realize they were working on it. But yeah, it's so tough to tell. Are these guys just tickling each other, or are they actually fighting?
They're going to be diving underneath the turret here. The Fear on to Valentine, caught with the bubble and the root from the Jhin. Do they have the damage to go back in? They don't. all summoner spells minus the heal are available for the side of Team Unknown. They dodged the gank, but it was still a good play coming out of the short bus.
And that the Melio ulti, the Melio shields, it makes it so tough to secure a kill. It really feels like a Janna or feels like a Lulu where it's like, oh, here's an easy kill on the Kaisa. Oops, never mind. My CC doesn't matter anymore. Uh, very, very well played. Very good pick of the Melio. We saw Melio early in the draft specifically for this reason that CC doesn't matter anymore. At least at this stage of the game. So very well played.
Gage up here on the jungle. Ultimate from Seraphine does not land, but the root does after a little bit of skirmishing. In goes the Wukong. He is super low. Does he make it? He jumps forward, does manage to secure the kill, but now it's a 1v1 between mid and jungle. The root doesn't land, but the slow does. A little bit more damage is all Death needs. He does not have the flash available, and Fiddlesticks makes it out with 100 HP for the second time this game.
That's crazy. The amount of damage that came out, you know, very easily could have gone that a little different. A couple units difference on that Fiddlesticks. However, he is someone who's fairly healthy. Will be able to heal up and to get back into it. I don't think we've seen a Fiddlesticks ult yet this game. So
No.
he still has that in his back pocket, especially when he's dancing around that bot lane. It's one of those things. When you're playing against the Fiddlesticks, you need to hit tab a lot to see what he's building, but you also need, when we're watching as spectators, watching where Fiddlesticks is on the map, because that's where we're going to see big plays.
Absolutely. Death is going to dodge the majority of the damage there. He makes it a pretty even trade, gets to his turret. And while I've been thinking about and looking at everything, the CS numbers are actually quite unnerving for the side of the short bus. A mid lane deficit of 17, bot lane deficit of 22. That's where a lot of this gold lead is coming from. It isn't in the one extra kill, maybe some turret plates here or there, but you know, that's important. Having pressure in your lane is a big deal. Flash forward to get the knockback into the first Fiddle ult like you called, and that's the burst right there. Shutdown gold over to the side of Fiddle.
Instantly gone because of how much damage is in both Gragas and Fiddlesticks. Yeah, that definitely is something that Death needs to pay attention for, especially as this gold lead closes out, like you were talking about. You know, just a small reminder for anyone in solo queue that kills do not mean that you are winning if your CS is looking that bad. This is a tough position. I don't necessarily think it's because Gragas is having a tough time farming as much as he's getting pushed out of lane, that the Seraphine is just doing too much damage to turn out. I think this is a big reason why Seraphine's so strong, is like, even though she's low mana, she puts her lane opponents in situations where they get low gold because they can't touch the minion wave.
Yeah, and it's actually really similar to what we saw with the Sivir Caitlyn earlier today. And so we know that it's a strategy that can be very beneficial. But with the timing of that gank, even most of that out, there is still a pretty good lead on all the lanes of Team Unknown. See if they can hold on to it, as we're not even close to losing our first turret on either side or the big team fights. There's only been one Drake traded for the Void Grubs, so once we get the map opened up, I think that's when we're really going to see what the impact has been from all these little subtle things.
Yeah, and a reminder, it is 2-2, so the next kill will get that mark of warfare, the feat of warfare.
Flash forward into the ultimate, might be it, but he goes all out, and that's going to be third kill. And it was close in terms of who knocked whom where, but the damage was way higher on the side of SPD. In with the killer instinct, the bubble does not land. The chase is coming in, flash forward to try and get a summoner heal, goes in. The cleanse doesn't do quite enough, and Valentine cannot secure the kill.
Yeah, but we do have the Fiddlesticks nearby with the Wukong, so it does look like
and Seraphine
gonna happen here.
The ultimate does go through. The curtains are called. Death is under fire from the ultimate from Jin. Good guy Griffin running off to the side. Kodo Draco has joined along with the Yone. They are all here on the bottom side. The cast
the
doesn't
Gragas
land.
whiffs, and
The
so
charm from Seraphine does. Do they have the damage to kill off Gragas? They do knock him down. That goes over to Kodo Draco. He's knocked up immediately following. And that is it. It is a 1 for... Actually, it's just 1 kill. Not even really a trade. Kodo Draco might be in some trouble, though. He's caught up on the top side. Healing onto the Fiddlesticks means that he is going to stay healthy. Everyone's going to back up. Look at the mid lane, though. The push after being kicked out of the fight. Everyone is still there. Let me talk, guys.
Yeah, and you know, so much is happening, and yet nothing is happening. That they're basically pushing bot and they're pushing mid. A lot of money went to the Wukong right there for just how much they got, how long that fight was. But overall, only 1 death is a crazy result for how many people spent resources in the bot lane. Right there. Does look like we have a little bit of a chase going on with his Yone to the Wukong. Yone is just like, yeah, I'm just going to lane, dude. And Wukong's like, leave me alone.
The interesting thing is I'm looking at summoner spell cooldowns. Jin didn't use either one. Fiddlesticks still has his flash, but here on the bottom side, Cassante is still hanging out fighting people. And anyway, flashes, barriers. Ultimate from Nami went the other direction to try and get the kill onto the Seraphine. They've got some heals going on to Cassante. Architect gets the kill onto Death. All out goes Kodo Draco once again. Another kill over to the side of Disu, but all out goes on to the Gragas. He goes down. Griffin is here invisible, does not jump in with the Cyclone, and now that's 6 kills to 4, and the Drake will most likely go over to the side of the short bus.
Wow. Neck and neck. The gold is like literally tied right now. It's not going to be tied once this Drake goes down. But wow, we got a close game on our hands. And I think, you know, we got to put on our thinking caps and really start to look at, we got 3 kills for the Fiddlesticks, and we have a kill on the Jin. I really like where the money is for Short Bus Dojo. I think that they're piloting their chance very well. Another plate goes down, and they're making a name for themselves. Well, welcome to PLC.
Definitely. And actually, the gold is still dead even. Look at that. Wow. It's within like 80, 90, 110, however you want to calculate that. Very, very close. These teams are neck in neck. Once someone grabs a turret, it's going to be right down to that last map objective. No ultimate landing here. The Seraphine is still alive. Charm is going to land onto Gragas, make him take a huge turret shot. Cyclone gives you movement speed. He jumps in, gets knocked in even closer by the explosive cast. They've got the damage. They will take the kill onto the Gragas. No second cast of the Cyclone here for Griffin, but they are going in. They got the shield from the Cassante, but Yone is mobile if he can land those Qs.
I was just about to mention a certain power spike that I just saw on the map. First turret going down to the side of Team Unknown. Team Unknown has made it to the mid game. This is where they thrive. This is where we know them to be.
Got the slow into the Pathmaker. No flash available for the Yone, but he does dodge away. Wukong has to get out of aggro range of these minions, while Seraphine and Cassante are going to take down yet another turret. It will be traded on the bottom side. Jin and Nami are doing some heavy work down that way, but mid and top open. That means an entire side of the jungle close to the Rift Herald is open to the side of Team Unknown.
Yeah, as close as things are money-wise, it really does feel like Team Unknown has an advantage for map pressure. Maybe not necessarily the gold in certain spots. They're still fighting.
Cassante might do it. He goes all out, but he's in a 1v2 at this point. He is going to dodge out with the Pathmaker. Fiddlesticks really wants to get something. He does land the fear, but Kodo Draco is going to fight him. Fighting through the drain, dealing damage, isn't able to get the knockup. Nami has shown up, gets the movement speed from the Scuttle Crab. The slow is going to go in. He cannot be stopped by the bubble while he's in the Pathmaker, and Wukong is here to fend off their opponents, and he does make it out, but that was really close.
Yeah, seriously, and it's a little tense because having the pressure of, you know, not having those turrets there gives them the advantage unless your Cassante's dead, and then it becomes a 4v5, and all of a sudden your advantage that you fought for in a relatively close game. Still, it doesn't take much to lose that advantage.
Let's be real. How often is Cassante actually dead?
Yeah, not once, ever.
Almost never. He does have one death this time, but in all of my games, enemy Cassantes do not die. And
So true.
it's exceptionally frustrating. But oh, Flash there from Architect is unable to set up anything with the explosive cask, but he does dodge out a lot of the damage. Nami is up here, does not land the bubble, but do we see the dive from the short bus? Draco is probably going to make it out of this one.
Yeah, tough to say because I don't think Yone has his ulti right now, but they do pressure him to stay from all the harassment going on.
He's got to get the minions.
He's trying to as best he can, but too much damage is going his way. Anytime he tries to get a little closer, he takes more punishment than they do, especially with the Nami healing.
They are going to take the turret. He already has his Pathmaker down. He's going to throw the third and Topo Strike to try and delay everything. Gets a heal from the grasp, but it is not enough. And that's another kill to the side of the short bus.
For the second time in history, Cassante has died. It's
Mark
insane.
it down.
This
Mark
is
it down,
historical.
boys and girls. Rift Herald does go the way of SBD, putting them at 3. I want to say that's their third objective. That would give them feats. They indeed do have that. That's the Cyclone knocked onto the Gragas, but in comes the Yone. He deals quite a lot of damage, but it isn't quite enough with the 2 enchanters to keep the Kaisa healthy. Third turret for Team Unknown has not gotten down yet. They pick up the kill and they have the pressure. The wave is just about to get there. They decide to go in, reducing armor. The Wukong is going close. He's still alive, but he dies to the Fiddlesticks. The healing there from the Redemption will keep Valentine alive, but somehow Fiddlesticks is as well. Valentine goes down, and the Yone is the one that lives. Emilio will die as well on the top side of that fight, and Death is barely going to make it out.
Cassante is still fighting over by the mid lane turret.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I thought that would be a little bit more than that, but you're never safe. Jin announcing where his position was. I was watching that Fiddlesticks during that fight. That guy was hoping so much. This is a person who can pilot Fiddlesticks, which is what I was hoping for a first-time DLC.
Right. Draco now in a 1v2 is going to use the Pathmaker, get the stun, go all out, and try and get the Nami before she could do anything else. Flash is away, and now Yone is trying to do the damage he can. Kodo Draco is low, and now Gragas is here. He's got to get out of here, otherwise he is going to go down. That is the leap forward from Architect, trying to do what he can to help his team secure a Drake once again. Wukong has shown up, will steal the Drake away, and that was a good move from Team Unknown, though it was costly.
Man, I was screaming in my head, Yone has to go back, he has to go back, and sure enough, it wasn't enough damage for the Cassante to go down. So Kodo Draco gets out of there. And worse, the Drake flips sides. So I'm sure Short Bus Dojo is hurting a little bit after that one, but still, I feel like for the 23rd time this game, locked. Gold-wise, position-wise, very
Here comes
close
another engage attempt. By the way, seeing that fit. Oh, never mind. It's the knockup with the Cyclone on to the Nami that got quite a lot of damage, and they are going to take down the Nami. The fear out of the Fiddlesticks gets charmed immediately. He pulled out. Kodo Draco secures that kill. Cyclone not available, but the Wukong almost goes in onto the Jin. A killer instinct from Valentine puts him right in range, and now Jin has to run away, and Team Unknown are on the push.
Yeah, what a team fight we saw there. That they're not able to pull a little bit to get that much. In fact, it looks like they might lose a turret. Oh, they're going to go for Otacon. That's a map objective that I can't quite see very well, which should help them significantly with the buffs that come there. But they almost lost a turret for winning that team fight, which is kind of crazy to think about. But still, very well played by Team Unknown.
To be fair, if they did lose that turret, they could have just taken the one in the mid lane instead of going for Otacon. Kodo Draco does stay, distracts them while helping his team secure it. But Bluetane is on a rampage at this point, and that is terrifying, especially when you look at what items Bluetane has on this Yone. Blade of the Ruin King to shred through the Cassante, and the shield bow to keep himself alive from the burst. It's actually almost full build here for the Yone. He just needs one more crit item. He's already started it, and then he's going to just be dealing all of the damage and be unkillable.
Yeah, and it's a crazy position for someone who already does as much damage as Yone does to do that much more. He's basically uncontested. I think he's been playing the champion very well, especially with considering who his opponents have been so far. And here we are in a position where both teams are trying to find a foothold and finding not much there instead. I think both teams are have a clear objective plan and are unable to execute it because of how well the other team is playing. Team Unknown has been trying to do their death ball thing, and I think Short Bus Dojo has been responding in turn with just as great macro plays. I think Short Bus Dojo has been trying to secure objectives, and then Team Unknown comes in and snipes the dragon right from underneath them.
Hmm. I agree. And our game is still neck and neck in gold. It's about 850 gold the difference, about or closer to 1,000. 21 kills in 22 minutes. So this is the aggressive, just go and fight everything kind of style that Team Unknown likes to play on. And with all the turrets down, look at this. All 6 outer turrets are gone, and that's it. And these teams are just fighting everywhere. Rift Herald is summoned in the mid lane. I think that was a timer difference here. There's no way that's going to get anything done. It shouldn't even really draw all that much aggro, considering where it is in the map.
Yeah, it's gonna die where it's spawned.
The fight is there in the jungle, and the Fiddlesticks is the one to fall. Griffin flashes over the wall in the Cyclone, trying to get closer to the Nami. The Pathmaker's going to get the stun, and they go in harder. They pick up the first kill of this fight. Kodo Draco gets the slow, jumping in with the third and Topal strike, and Death takes down Aquila. And now they have the minion wave. They stopped the Herald. They're going to match the turret that was taken up on the top side with one in mid, and they are going to push for even more.
That's crazy that Cassante lived through that. I feel like we've seen the last Cassante death for history, you know. Taking turret shots, you know, tanking for his team, you know, getting the knockback so that he can secure that kill. Very well played.
Agreed. And this is what we were talking about, is when Team Unknown, just in sheer history, the amount of times we have seen this team, we know this is their formula. They find one kill, immediately turn on the numbers advantage, go find another one, and that leads them to take an objective and push on the map. Teleport is available for Cassante up on the top side. Drake is spawning in 2 seconds, and they want to make sure that they keep control over this part of the map to stop the stacking that Short Bus actually got going for themselves way earlier in the game.
100%. And I think this could spell the beginning of the end if Short Bus Dojo is not careful. I think that they're doing the right things, you know, playing around the objectives. But man, is Team Unknown just terrifying, and they're getting towers while they do it.
Exactly. Short Bus are positioned here pretty well. Oh, in goes the Cyclone. He is trying to get the big knockups. Kodo Draco has made his way in here, but Wukong has already gone down. Chase after the Nami while the Gragas dies in the middle of the fight. Now the ultimates from 3 other members of Short Bus will make short work of the members of Team Unknown. A flash out from the Kaisa means that she will stay alive for just a little bit longer. Goes over the wall. Meanwhile, Fiddlesticks is super low. Cassante wants to chase after, gets rooted by the Jin, and the fight is still going. The knockup does not land onto the Kaisa. In goes the Cassante. Cassante gets the kill onto Disu, who does not get the Drake, but it is still in the hands of Short Bus. And now the chase is on. Nami in a little bit of trouble. Beautiful cleanse there immediately as the bubble lands. They've got some damage. They have the vision. The slow goes down, and Valentine is having some trouble. Does not hit the Prey Seeker. They have to watch where this blast cone goes over the Krug Pit, and that will be safety for the Nami, but not for the side of Short Bus, as the Baron has been started.
What a play, what a play. There's so much that we could break down right there, and I just want to note that chasing the Nami right there was extremely beneficial for them, because it stands them immediately with Baron, which is, I think, what they wanted to do in the first place. So kind of a crazy read to both stall the enemy team from not putting vision on this, so that they couldn't contest it, as well as be able to stance themselves to the next thing. I also think what a crazy our eyes had to be darting back and forth to Cassante chasing down the Fiddlesticks, or the Cassante also chasing the Nami at the top right. I don't know how Cassante got on both sides of that fight, but yeah, the very well played by Team Unknown, who are really putting the pressure on um, for the Short Bus Dojo. I don't think that they're down and out of it yet, but at this point,
We're starting to lose win conditions for Short Bus Dojo. We need to get something to get back in this game. It's also the first time that we are at the point in the game where we need to start looking at items rather than gold. 3.5 completed on the side of Team Unknown for just about everybody. Of them are completed for the Yone, who is ahead for sure. And so he's going to be the big difference maker. If they can land that big combo Nami again, over the wall goes Ditsu.
He is taken back over the wall into a rampaging Valentine. Gets the killer instinct. Kodo Draco on the front lines now trying to do some setup. He gets really low. Remember, he's squishy, but he sustains. But the fight is already in the hands of Team Unknown. Going back by the Soul Unbound. Wow. Will pick up the kill, and they have a Baroned up cannon minion. They're going to push this turret. They're going to get an inhibitor. They might win the game off of that one.
I think you're right, and it's crazy to see that even when Cassante is squishy, he was pulling all that aggro. He was really tanking, even though he was doing all that damage. And it does look like that the first tower goes down, the second tower goes down. Here we are, Baron buff at the end of the first game of the Semifinals, going to the side of Team Unknown. Very well played.